Hello and welcome to this week's Tea Time with Meoni. This is where I sit down and generally go over some comments, talk to you guys as if you were in the room with me, simply because I cannot currently live stream due to my poor internet and really bad upload speed. So hopefully this will be fixed in the future, but until then we have this. Okay, so last week on the last Tea Time I asked people to leave some comments and questions for me to read in this week's Tea Time episode, and yeah, you didn't disappoint with 66 comments, so let's look through some of these. Tony Jabroni says, my most cherished memory is when I first brought the game. Made a character that started in Gridania, went into the building where you talked to Mother Meoni, and the very first player character I ever saw in Final Fantasy XIV was a bikini-wearing Makote named Futa Kitty Pleasure. No, I'm not kidding. Well, I mean, that's an experience for sure. I mean, I'd love to know what server you were on. Were you on, like, Balmung or something, or was this just you know, an ordinary type of server, let's say? That's quite impressive. My experience was nothing like that with the first player, but wow, I mean, yeah, what to say, really? I'm quite speechless there. Futa Kitty Pleasure. Beneficial Itifficial, which I can't pronounce the name of, says, nice. Yeah, early into the Realm Reborn launch, my friend and I encountered a player named Dinosaur Dick Slam. Best name I've ever seen on the game to this day. I doubt he lasted very long before he was made to change it. Yeah, that's exceptional though. Dinosaur Dick Slam is way more, you know, favourable than having someone called Futa Kitty Pleasure, or at least in my opinion. I don't know, which would you rather meet? The person that's like Futa Kitty Pleasure or Dinosaur Dick Slam? I think Dinosaur Dick Slam would probably be a tank. If he wasn't playing a warrior, you know, fell cleaving 6 times with that name, then he's doing it wrong, clearly. Laszlo Toff says, a solo job that must group up. Can you say oxymoron? This is in direct response to the Blue Mage angle that we talked about last week, where essentially they're talking about Blue Mage content where you must group up with other Blue Mages in 5.1 to do Blue Mage specific challenge log entries or something similar to that. It's called Blue Mage log, but essentially run this dungeon, run this, do this, kill this with X amount of other Blue Mages. So yeah, it is a little bit of an oxymoron. It is a bit ironic that the solo job that can, you know, overpower content is being given multiple player content. But is this something that, you know, was going to happen? I think so. It's an inevitability that it'll make content specifically for Blue Mages, and it's really difficult to make just solo content for them other than just the mass carnival. So I don't know, I'm still looking forward to potential PvP in the future. That is something I would definitely sign into, to see who can get the most final stingers off in a match. Sounds good to me. In relation to that though, Let Me Dream says, they want teamwork for Blue Mage, but I'm a solo player, and my Blue Mage is only level 16 and I don't like it, besides dying for real and just be dumb in Limsa. Oh well, self-destruction in city-states is just so good. I love self-destruct. It's the perfect sort of answer to someone that's annoying you or just, you know, getting on your nerves, just to blow up next to them. It's sort of like, yeah, you've caused me to blow up out of boredom, or at least that's how I use my self-destruct. So if you ever see me dead on the floor in Limsa or anywhere like that, usually it's because someone has bored me to death. But yeah, I don't know, teamwork for Blue Mage, it's definitely something that, you know, wasn't on the cards originally when it was promised to us and explained to us. So, but I'm excited to see what they do with it, and then I can be overly critical about it when it comes out. And inevitably we'll all, you know, just go back to not having Blue Mage touched at all after we've got it to 60, and some people won't really bother even getting it to 60 if all they have to look forward to is challenge logs. So I have to say, I mean, I hate to say it, but maybe they should sort of kill it and wait a bit, or do something properly with it. Ven and Lacey replies saying, this is the first time one of my comments ever got read out loud. I thank you for that, and I'm glad I'm not alone in trying to pull an entire zone as a noob tank, lol. Thank you for your video. He says, as for Blue Mage, maybe having a roulette like other people suggested, or to solo Blue Mage in Palace of the Dead, even be able to queue up in fixed parties of 4, Blue Mages for Palace of the Dead, of which Mr. Happy suggested. Well, that's definitely something that could be done. That would be interesting to have like a Blue Mage log entry, you know, sort of like rankings for that. It'd be over pretty quickly though, right? I don't know. Palace of the Dead isn't that challenging if you can overpower stuff with one-shots. That's an interesting point though, but there definitely needs to be something more other than just a challenge log. I think we can all agree on that. Okay, now we're going to talk briefly about Eureka, and Mirage Cypher leaves this comment. I liked Eureka because it was a dangerous new land with risk and consequence. Dangerous monsters, you can get killed, you res back at camp and lose experience. But I joined during Stormblood, so naturally I was catching up with 5 years of content instead and didn't devote much time to Eureka. At the most basic, I wish they would just reuse Eureka for Shadowbringers relics or anything, instead of devoting development money and time to new content. They should put Eureka and Diadem in Duty Finder a la PvP and like set goals or something. He says, as for Blue Mage, I don't see the point. It seems the perfect sub-job instead. I wish the regular jobs could steal relevant skills from NPCs and mobs. Like NPC Lancers have used at least 2 Lance AoE moves and I want it. Or every enemy that uses water spells. Let me steal their spells or something. So in relation to Eureka, obviously new content is very much important in my own opinion. I don't think they should drop progression on creating content that's new and fresh, because that's how you keep the end game sort of area interesting. Otherwise it's just going to get stagnant. Old content is fun and addictive and should be given some interest, and they should be making it more accessible for people who missed out the first time, like I said in a previous video that I made on why Eureka needs a Phoenix down. And in that video I talked about how they could incentivize people going back in there. They could help people that are going in there for the first time with perhaps a set of trust NPCs or something like that, similar to the Final Fantasy XI references that they want to play on from 11 themselves. When they made Eureka, they made so many of the rewards 11 related, specifically because they were referencing that time period in that particular game and wanted to bring as much of that to this one as possible. So this would be a great opportunity to bring trusts into there, since they've, created the trust system. They know it works. We can create basic adventurer squadron type NPCs to fill the space of other players on your notorious monster fights, making them soloable, because currently when you go into Eureka, any of the areas, usually you get about 4 to 8 people maximum at peak times, which is not exactly usable to actually go and do the notorious monsters you need to kill for your protein crystals or whatever, Animos crystals, wherever stage you are in Eureka, including High Dartos. The only other thing that's really like a problem is Baldessian Arsenal. There's no real solution to making that fresh and exciting again, apart from maybe making that queuable from outside of Eureka, which is something I said at the time they should have done, because more people would have actually been able to do the content rather than having to deal with pre-made groups being really aggressive to pugs in that particular area in the public dungeon. So yeah, it's a catch-22 situation. Whatever you do, it's going to irritate somebody, but something needs to be done to keep this content from just being dead and undoable. I love old content that is dead that I can do, that I can unsync and I can go and enjoy, If I want to go and run the vault, I can relive that. I don't necessarily have to go and queue through the roulette system. I can just unsync it and relive my memories through what I feel was the best dungeon in Heavensward. I can't do that with Eureka, because 5 minutes in, my superpowered abilities are just completely useless because I get overwhelmed by equal level monsters because of the level cap in that particular instance. But yeah, interesting points, Mirage. I definitely agree with you. The idea of the danger, the mobs getting killed and losing experience is something that I personally enjoyed when the content was fresh, and it's something that sadly people are missing out on. But I imagine that in the next Eureka style content that they're developing for Shadowbringers, we'll be reliving that all over again, and then that content in turn will be dead the next expansion over. Creative Ziggy says, I like that PvP has unique gear. If PvP didn't, it would feel useless. I would even want rank-based gear, stuff you can obtain unless you hit, say, rank 30. I'm big on PvP though, so as we may not see eye to eye. But that's where you're wrong, actually. I love the idea of making it so that you can get certain gear for different ranks. Ranked, like public ranks, as opposed to just this seasonal stuff, would be quite impressive, just for glamour. I like the system they have currently, if you can dedicate your time into the feast. to actually get the stuff. It's just a bit of a problem that people are win trading, and there's a lot of drama around that currently, where, you know, the majority of people aren't exactly doing it fair and square, and once they've got their so many kills, they don't actually do any more PvP to keep that rating. So I like the current system, but at the same time, I don't like it. If I could just have like natural progression through levels, like ranks, like you say, from doing frontline just socially, and every so many frontlines I run, I rank up, and if I hit rank 30, like you say, I can actually access some really cool sets of armor with my wolf marks, then I'd be up for that. I think a lot of people would be interested in, you know, going there and farming for that. But as it stands, it's all available on the vendors. Once I've got my wolf marks, and once I've purchased the glamour that I want, what reason is there for me to go back into PvP? I don't necessarily fully enjoy it in its current state. I preferred it back in Heavensward, like I said. I don't know. It's one of those situations that I don't know how to fix very easily. So, yeah, I keep my opinions low when it comes to PvP sort of patch notes and stuff, because I know a lot of people won't agree with me no matter what I say anyway. But yeah, thank you very much for your comment, and I like the idea of that actually. If it was sort of like a public rank system from just doing the content and you leveled it up to unlock new rewards from vendors, I'd be in for that. That would be interesting. And in direct contrast to our Blue Mage discussion earlier, Andrew Iverson, I'm sorry if I butchered your name, says, I'm excited for the Blue Mage log and finding more about more limited job content. Since around 5.5, we will most likely be getting Beastmaster or Puppet Master. It also feels like they may add more Blue Mage or limited job content in 5.3 if they keep up the pattern. Now, obviously, it's worth mentioning nothing has been announced yet. It was actually mentioned, just sort of like off topic, the idea of Beastmaster and Puppet Master, I think briefly at one point in the past during a live letter or something, just a nonchalant sort of side comment that wasn't a confirmation or anything like that. But at the same time, do we want more limited jobs if the limited job system just has the mass carnival or something like that, but just for the others as well? I don't think I personally would want that. I wouldn't want the development time to be invested in something that is so niche that I would really not. I would really prefer them not putting Beastmaster or Puppet Master into those. I would rather save those and make those into normal jobs, personally, if this is what we're getting from a limited job system. But that's just my opinion. I like the idea of doing more stuff with Blue Mage, like you say, with the Blue Mage log. But at the end of the day, how long is that going to keep me excited for? Maybe a week, 2? I don't know. When I get to level 60, when I've got all of those abilities and I do the log, what's then? Do I really need those tomestones of poetics each week? Not really. I can do other content for them, or whatever other tomestone reward or other they have in there. The only thing that will get me actually doing that content is if they reward me with glamour, minions, or mounts. Apart from that, I'm not interested. Yeah, without repeating myself too much, they have to do something new and interesting with this limited job system. Otherwise, it's just going to be a nightmare. Maybe just have the whole limited job system as PvP. So like Blue Mages and Puppet Masters and Beastmasters in a big free-for-all. I don't know. Would that be insane? Probably. But would it be fun? Maybe. Maybe for about a month? I don't know. It depends what rewards they have. At the end of the day, there needs to be incentivized things to go in there for. But thank you once again for your comment, Andrew. Sayatan24 says, I never did like Eureka. I stepped in there for a bit, leveled up a few times, maybe level 8, got bored, got hit like a tank buster from a bug and died, lost experience, and then got the hell out. Lol. Please supremely nerf it, make it soloable. That T-Rex mount wouldn't be so bad. I couldn't agree more. Your experience is certainly something unique. I love that, though. You went in there, a bug just absolutely annihilated you, and you were like, nope. You just nope the heck out and disappeared. I love it. But as for the T-Rex mount and the solo ability of the content, the T-Rex mount is from the treasure coffers, and you can get those from just killing normal monsters. In terms of solo ability, again, yeah, we just need the ability to actually go in there with no level cap and make it so you can out-level the content, maybe. Maybe put in some new logograms like they're planning to do. Maybe allow for logograms in even the earlier instances, not just the last 2. Yeah, I don't know. It could be doable, but they certainly need to do something, like I keep saying. So our good friend to the channel, Kali Rush, says, "Oh man, PvP, I have so much to say, incoming novel." Oof. So let's read this through. If you don't know, Kali Rush actually Twitch streams. I'll link her Twitch stream in the comment section. So she says, "So I love PvP in Final Fantasy XIV. I realize that makes me part of a small group, but of course I have some criticism. I understand that people who aren't into PvP and only do it for rewards struggle with it. But for those of us who love it, it's just not the same. PvP used to have an independent leveling system that mattered. You would level up your PvP skills, making them even more potent. A level 10 in PvP would struggle to kill a level 45, which was the maximum at the time, she says, and that is what made it great. Now as a healer in PvP, it is hard to kill me just because I know PvP well, but if I face even one other PvP player who knows what they're doing, I get wrecked. My survivability decreased substantially, and it's frustrating as in PvP most go for the healers first. I miss the days of having a full set of PvP gear with stats. As a healer, I was able to kill people by myself in order to defend a point. It made me feel so great that I could help my team this way. Now I can barely defend a point on my own. I can hold people off, but as a healer I can't actually prevent them from taking the point in a 1v1 or 2v1 situation like I used to. This makes it feel much less rewarding for me, but I still go in and participate because I need my minions. I have more to say, but this is good for now. What do you all think? Did you PvP back then? So in terms of the PvP, I was never like massively into it. I enjoyed it back then in some regard. I didn't really understand it fully, and I certainly didn't farm it all the time. In terms of PvP in general though, from other game perspectives and other experiences I've had, I do prefer a sort of system where you're leveling something up. You're making some form of character progression in there. I do like that system. I prefer it when we have something to work towards. In terms of the sort of like making it so that a healer can't just stand there with a certain level above someone else and hold a point, I guess that's to make it so that more people who are beginners to PvP feel like they're on a level playing field instead of grinding for it. But again, you've got this situation where one person's going to like it and one person's not, and at the moment they're listening to, you know, making the content more casual and accessible. And I think that's fair to say that they're going in a more casual sort of direction, but yet at the same time they're wanting to do this esports thing, and ever since they uttered the word esports, well, yeah, it's been interesting, hasn't it? In general, there's so much that you could do with the system to make it more suitable to esports. They're just going a very different direction than I expected. The accessibility to queue into it is a great idea, though, like lowering the level to actually queue for it and making it so that the quests aren't completely crap to actually get into it. That was a good move. But as for removing the leveling system, as for removing that ranking, I don't know. I think that was probably one of the worst mistakes they've made as well. I will agree with you there. It's nice to hear from someone who actually spends time in PvP, which definitely helps me out sort of explaining my own points, because yeah, it's interesting. I'd love to know more about it, but it's not in a situation where I feel rewarded every time I go in there. The only time I will actually do PvP is probably this coming Monday onwards, where I do the frontline stuff, just and like Seal Rock, etc., Siege, etc., just because the queue times will be less, to finish off a few Garrow pieces of armor that I'm still missing, and also for the itinerant Moogle event because I want my Mamasheba earrings, and I would imagine that PvP is going to be the best way of doing that. But on the flip side, won't people be deliberately trying to lose as fast as possible coming next week? Because obviously the shorter you make the PvP last, then the more tomestones you're going to get. I'm sure that will come up next week and will probably annoy the heck out of people. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, thank you so much for your comment, Carly. And keep up the streaming. It's great fun, and I love your Final Fantasy VIII streams on Saturday when I do get time to actually watch them. I think we have time for 2 more comments to look through. Let's look at this comment from Drew Wilson. Thank you so much for being brave enough to speak about Blue Mage. I really resent the treatment Blue Mage is getting. I want Blue Mage to just be a regular class at this point. Make it a true all-rounder where learned abilities fit specific roles. Instead of limited job, it should be advanced advanced job, i.e. it's advanced so progression isn't as solid as a normal job, but once invested in its development it becomes rewarding and powerful. The damn treatment of it as a literal sideshow is infuriating. Well, yeah, I couldn't agree more with that either. It is a little bit sort of sore, isn't it, to see a class that people have played in Final Fantasy XI, and we've seen it in Final Fantasy VIII with Quistis, or any of the other Final Fantasy games where you have a blue mage or blue magic involved. It's irritating to see that blue magic is seen as this like, oh, it's too overpowered, you've got to go stand over there, but I want to play with the others. No, you stand over there in the corner, blue mage, you're not welcome here, just self-destruct if you need to, just go away. And that's how it feels. I don't know. I completely agree with you. There's not really much more I can say, as we've just been waffling on about Blue Mage and Eureka for the past hour nearly, I feel, in my head. But yeah, it is really rough, isn't it, the treatment that Blue Mage is getting? It feels like they're developing content that nobody really wants. Like, the Blue Mage log is going to be cool, but it's not what we want. We want something tangible. And if they can't handle something tangible, don't do any more limited jobs, and maybe consider retiring Blue Mage and remaking it or something like that. Or just, I don't know. It just feels like a missed opportunity in so many ways, and it's very upsetting to see. I completely agree. Thank you kindly for your comment, Drew. And finally, let's give one last shout out to GIG Vanity, who says, I'm actually worried about the state of the game despite recent reviews on Shadowbringers. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of good things here. My personal opinions aside, there isn't a lot of longevity in the current established setup, and for a lot of veterans, we are getting burnt out. So in terms of burning out every patch cycle, this happens all the time. This is why Yoshi P has said before, he doesn't want Final Fantasy XIV to be, I mean, this is in the 1.0 documentary that NoClip made. If you go on Google, research that and go watch that. It's a fantastic documentary. But he specifically said in there, word for word, Yoshi P does not want this to be a game that people have to play every day and log into. They're saying it's quite healthy to play their other games or other games that exist. And that's really what we should be doing. If you're feeling burnt out in a game, simply just unsubscribe for a while. It's totally legit fine to do that and play something else until the next content. The next content isn't until October, so if you feel like there's nothing to do, unsubscribe from the game. Unless you can find the enjoyment, if you're looking for it, if you're desperately trying to find that enjoyment, then you're doing yourself a disservice. You should spend that time playing other games, because life is short, and if you want as many experiences as possible and the most rewarding experiences, then, go and find them. This is not a situation where you should be playing only one game and only on that one particular thing. It's very healthy to have a broad mind and to try other things. People who say that, oh, there's a WoW people and then there's Final Fantasy people and there's no crossover, and they do this whole WoW refugee thing when they come over. No, that's wrong. We live in a society where people are from different sort of camps for some reason, or people are seen as traitors if they play a different console than another to another person. I mean, I own, 17 consoles across the many years that I've been playing games. Do I feel like a traitor for playing on an Xbox one day and then playing on the PC and then the PlayStation and then my Nintendo Switch? No, I feel that I'm rewarded. I'm overwhelmed with the amount of different content that I have access to, and I know that I have other avenues to look into if I do get bored of 14. 14 happens to be one of the things I'm incredibly addicted to making content for. I love the game in to the 10th degree, but I don't log in every day. That shouldn't be a newsflash to people. Sometimes I make my content and then I log out, and then I go and play the Nintendo Switch, or I play something else with other people. But I always come back to 14. It's like the thing that I'm magnetized to. But I still think it's really healthy to, play other games, to experience other things, to watch some films now and again, and spend time with family outside of gaming in general. It's pretty much the same state as it has been in every patch cycle, when you have this sort of lull of content where people lose interest. And then once October comes around, you'll have this massive spike again when you get the new Frontline, when you get all of the other 5.1 content, including Blue Mage, as well as the storyline, as well as the new Ultimate raid that they're talking about, which they still haven't unveiled. And then there's obviously Nier Automata, which you should be very excited for, perhaps, if you're into that. I know I'm desperately excited to play that content. So yeah, it's just one of those things. It happens all the time, and all I can really say is kind of try and get used to it as best you can, because this happens every 2 or 3 months when we have a dip. Either way, thank you all kindly for your comments and for letting me read them out. Hopefully this was entertaining in some way. I tried to do it a little different this time and community focused. I know I missed some of the comments, but obviously if we read off all of the comments, then we're going to be here for a very long time, and my voice only has a certain sort of mileage in it before it gets scratchy and horrible. So thank you all once again. If you want to leave any questions in the comment section of this video, I will try and answer as many as I can in the next video next week. But thank you all kindly for watching, and I'll see you all next time.